Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 58 of the FilmBrony Podcast. Your, I am, of course, the guy that in charge of this, Nick Canino, and with me, I have a guest who started the whole podcast. So, introduce yourself.
Yeah, you pretty much know who I am. Welcome to the summer movie season, which hopefully will be better than the first 4 months have been.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. And we got a lot to cover tonight, guys. Um, we got a ton of movie reviews to cover, and from March, and then Søren will reveal his dog and pick of the show, and then he and I, at the end of the show, are going to reveal our 10 most and least our 10 most anticipated films of the summer. So, hope you guys are in for one heck of a show because I know I am. So, hello Taz, I'm doing just fine. How are you? And hello Jose. Hope you had a good birthday. Welcome guys to the podcast. So, anyway, we're gonna start with the usual, which is the Blu-ray showcase.
1776.
Nice.
California Suite. Despicable Me 1 to 3, the first 3. Don John.
That's a great film.
The Founder.
Very overlooked in my opinion.
This Find Wise Two-Fro collection.
Nice.
The Full Monty.
That is a classic.
Ghost World.
Another classic.
Moby Dick.
Nice.
Peeping Tom.
Nice.
The Plague Dogs. Primal Fear.
Nice.
The Room Next Door.
That was really good.
Shortcomings.
That was a really good one.
Waiting for Guffman.
That's a really good one too.
And last but certainly not least, The Wizard of Oz.
A classic.
Indeed.
Anyway, I got a few Blu-rays myself. And here they are. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Can't wait for the next one.
Mm-hmm. Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yeah.
Next up, one of my favorite movies of 2016, Captain Fantastic.
Still need to see that film.
You should, man. Viggo Mortensen is brilliant in that film. Next up, one of my favorite movies of 2017, and what is possibly the last great film from this director before he started getting into the slump until this movie we're going to talk about later, Logan Lucky.
Heard good things about that one. I need to check it out.
Please do. And finally, one of my favorite movies of 2019, Greta Gerwig's Little Women.
Really good movie.
Absolutely. All right. So we're gonna get started with our film reviews as usual. I might as well start out with a documentary I watched with my mom called "Becoming Led Zeppelin." Now, this documentary explores on how Led Zeppelin came to be, and fans of Led, and I really enjoyed listening to Led Zeppelin even before this documentary came out. But now that I saw the documentary, it makes me love and respect the band even more. I really, really enjoyed this documentary a lot. The story involving how Led Zeppelin came to be felt highly engaging. It was very well directed. I really enjoyed the interviews provided by the surviving band members, although I'll talk about that in a bit in my negatives. It's got a fantastic soundtrack, excellent cinematography. The editing was very good, especially since it does a brilliant job showing and editing the archival footage as well as the photos of the band. There are some moments of good humor thrown into the mix as well, and it also throws in a brilliant and relatable message towards the end as well that I think people can relate to. Hey, welcome to the podcast. And so am I. If I had to point out a couple issues, other than a couple pacing issues in some spots, I did say in my positives that I really enjoyed the interviews provided by the surviving band members. However, I did notice that there was a lack of interaction between these band members, and I wish they would have done so. But besides that, I really enjoyed this documentary. I found Becoming Led Zeppelin to be a highly entertaining and captivating documentary that does a brilliant job showing how the band came to be. It's a must-see for fans of Led Zeppelin, and its joining companion and One of Them Days as being one of the better movies I've seen this year so far. 9 out of 10 or an A-. Check it out. Also, the sound in the footage was fantastic as well.
Next, we have The Actor, which seemed like an interesting film noir throwback, but honestly fell short. The acting's decent, especially Andre Holland as this mysterious protagonist, and the production values and music really set the dreamy yet mysterious tone. However, I felt the story all over the place. It's really slow and just came to a screeching halt without any real conclusion, so real disappointment, sealed mediocrity.
Too bad.
Unfortunately, this next one's not much better. The Electric State.
Oh, God, this movie.
$320 million and all this talent behind and in front of the camera, all wasted. This movie tries to be Terminator meets Stranger Things, but it just fails miserably. Story's all over the place and nonsensical at times. The tone's all over the place as well. The actors are either terrible from Chris Pratt to Anthony Mackie or wasted like Giancarlo Esposito and Kiwi Kwan. The effects are alright, but nothing special. It's edited terribly, and it's got horrendous product placement and comedy. After this movie,
don't even get me started on the comedy, dude. Like, good God.
After this one, The Gray Man and Cherry, it's safe to say that the Russos didn't actually direct those Avengers movies. It was Kevin Feige. So just wait until Avengers Doomsday next year. Seal of Rage.
This is already battling Flight Risk as being the worst movie I've seen this year so far. Yeah, this was the first Netflix movie I've seen in 2025, and it has now dethroned Hillbilly Elegy as being the worst Netflix movie I've ever seen in my life. Yes, an autobiography involving J.D. Vance is somehow better than a $320 million schlock.
At least Hillbilly Elegy, I can laugh at it.
Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. Oh my God. This movie was just like, oh my God, this movie was horrendous. Like I hated The Gray Man a few years ago. But what if I were to tell you that The Electric State makes The Gray Man look like an Oscar film? Now, usually, yeah, I am not kidding. I am not kidding when I say that this is the Russo brothers' worst movie they've made so far. And not just that, it's one of the lousiest and most incompetent and reprehensible films I've ever seen in my life. Like, it is everything wrong. It is everything wrong with Netflix and Hollywood nowadays. Like, they would rather go over budget instead of telling good stories to the point where it makes the film look shallow and either undercooked or overcooked as well as hell. And The Electric State is one of the worst examples of this. It is absolutely one of the worst examples of this.
And it's a case of style over substance.
Exactly. And
yeah, Star Wars fan, this might as well be the Borderlands of 2025.
Like, seriously. I mean, just... Look. Now, usually I wouldn't review movies that go straight to Netflix. I wouldn't review movies that they're distributed by Netflix unless they, like... You guys know me in the past, like, unless they go to, like, they get a limited theatrical release first before they drop it on the streaming service. This definitely did get a theatrical release. It got a theatrical limited release on March 7th before dropping it on their streaming service the very next week on March 14th. So that's why it counts as a theatrical release. But regardless, this is something I really wish that I would have skipped out on. I struggled to find anything redeeming in this movie whatsoever. I never read the graphic novel it was based on, but I heard from reviewers and people who are fans of the novel that they were frustrated with the changes that they made that made it almost nothing like the novel at all.
From what I've heard, this is about as faithful to the graphic novel as the Inspector Gadget movies are faithful to the cartoon.
And that is one of the lowest moments. Like, that is literally one of the worst movies anybody could ever produce. When you have a source material that's almost nothing like it. They fell hard, dude. They fell really hard. And I'm going to rant on these guys in a little bit because they did something that I found unacceptable. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. So I couldn't find anything redeeming in this movie. So I might as well talk about what I hated about this movie. The story was an incompetent mess. The screenplay was absolutely atrocious, mainly due to it having characters being paper-thin and one-dimensional, as well as terrible dialogue, and the film's tone being so inconsistent where it can't decide if it wanted to be a sci-fi action or a comedy. Not to mention, this is one of the worst directed films of the year so far. Anthony and Joe Russo's directing felt so incompetent to the point where you can't help but ask, what were they even trying to go for with this? If they were trying to go for an Emblem film, they completely missed the point of what made those Emblem films even special in the first place. It wasn't just about this. It wasn't just about the spectacle of the effects, but it was also about story and characters. Characters that mattered, and some that you could relate to. Yeah, that was not a good film. But I would rather watch that movie than this piece of shit again. The acting was absolutely terrible. On top of Bobby Brown giving such a bland performance. Not only was Chris Pratt terrible in this movie, since he's basically playing a carbon copy of Star-Lord from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But what the fuck was up with that wig he was wearing? Like let me pull that up. But no, seriously. Seriously, look at this wig. Look at this wig I'm about to show you.
We'll get to that in the next podcast, Star Wars fan.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the next podcast. I was originally we were originally going to talk about that on this podcast, but to be honest, I don't feel comfortable reviewing the work print of the films. I would rather see the final product of the film than just the work print. So that's why I'm not reviewing. We're not reviewing a Minecraft movie on this podcast. And no, it's like he's playing some hipster dude. Like, but he's not the only. But you want to know something? He's not the only actor with a terrible wig. Look at what they did to Ke Huy Quan as well.
What the actual hell am I looking at?
Like, give me a second. Don Corleone, take it away. Yeah, shit. Don Corleone. To quote Don Corleone from The Godfather.
Look on the mask, cause my boy.
Like, he's in 2 movies this year that are on my worst of list. Love Hurts and now this one? Like, what the fuck? Can somebody please get him in a better movie, for God's sake? I mean, he won the Academy Award for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Except at least Love Hurts actually tried to be a fun action film. This one just feels like a product. A shameless product.
Exactly. A shameless product. And Ke Huy Quan is not only the only actor that was horribly wasted in this movie. Jason Alexander, Woody Harrelson, Jenny Slate, Giancarlo Esposito, Stanley Tucci, and Holly Hunter. All horribly wasted since they're not given that much to do. And don't even get me started on Anthony Mackie as the voice of Herman the Robot. Like, oh my God, did he get on my nerves so much? And his character seriously serves as one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to movies. It's when a side character becomes a comic relief for the sake of it. And this is one of the worst examples of this. He may not be as insufferable as Jack. What?
I was gonna say, at least he doesn't pull off an irritating accent like Jack Black as Claptrap, but still.
Oh yeah, I was about to mention that. This is worse. This is worse than those 2 films. I didn't see Cherry, but I did see The Gray Man, and I could tell you The Gray Man looks like an Oscar film compared to The Electric State. It's that bad. It's that bad. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. You just completely wasted. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. You just wasted Anthony Mackie by making him do that. I was also very disappointed in Alan Silvestri's musical score for the film as well. Not only did it feel bland, but the music also shamelessly borrows better music that I could be listening to. Like Journey's Don't Stop Believin' and the famous helicopter piece from Francis Ford Coppola's war epic Apocalypse Now, called Ride of the Valkyries. Valkyries. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
Ride of the Valkyries.
Valkyries. Thank you. And the way the Russo brothers shamelessly use them as nods clearly show that they have no shame whatsoever. Like, you couldn't use original music, so you have to shamelessly rip off better music just to use them as nods? Really? And on top of bland cinematography, the pacing being a sluggish mess, since for a 125-minute film, and that's including credits, by the way, feeling like 3.5 hours long, and the movie also filled with cliches that you've seen in other films before. The action sequences were shockingly underwhelming and bland, mainly due to its choppy editing and sloppy visual effects, which I'll mention when I get to my 2 glaring issues I have with the film, and the lack of stake or tension. And you also have one of the worst endings I've ever seen in the film this entire year so far. Like, the way it ended just makes me want to punch my screen. Just makes me want to punch my computer screen.
Here's the thing, Star Wars then, it did get a limited release before its Netflix release. And guess how well that it did in theaters? It bombed like Hiroshima.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it did get a limited theatrical release, so that's why it counts. And now let's get to two glaring issues I have with the film. The first one, the editing. This movie has some of the worst editing I've seen in the film this entire year so far, especially with how many times they rely too much on quick cut edits. Like this movie was edited by Jeffrey Ford. Yes, the Jeffrey Ford of Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame, as well as 1 Hour Photo and Shattered Glass. And how it was edited felt like he hired a monkey to edit this movie. Okay, and now for my biggest glaring issue with the film. The CGI visual effects. This is currently battling Snow White 2025 as having the worst visual effects I've seen this year so far. Not only do the robots look unconvincing in CGI, but even when the movie shows us the battle sequences, the CGI visual effects are so sloppy that I swear they came out something from a PS4 game. Like $320 million, and this was the best you could come up with? Let me repeat that again. $320 million fucking dollars.
And you want to know why the robots look so fake? 2 words. Artificial intelligence.
Oh! Good thing you mentioned that, Søren, because that's exactly what I'm going to get to next. The artificial intelligence. Yep, they used AI. Like, the movie takes place in 1994, and not only is the nostalgia they throw in the film so in your face and there for the sake of it, but they also used AI for, oh my God, for some of the voice modulation. For the robots and the voice modulation. And Joe Russo, not only did he admit to this, but his response and reasoning for defending it is absolutely one of the most idiotic and tone-deaf things I've ever heard a director say. He stated, "It's like something any 10-year-old could do after watching a TikTok video." Let me repeat that again. It's something any 10-year-old could use after watching a TikTok video.
You're stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. And don't forget, you're stupid. You can't be this stupid. You can't.
It's like, dude. Dude, you don't use AI for the sake of it. You don't use that for the sake of it. If it served a purpose, then I would understand it. But no, it's used for the sake of it. And this is where I'm going to have to dip my toes into this, especially with some of the spoilers. But one of my favorite films of last year, The Brutalist, did use a bit of AI. But here's a slight difference. There's a slight difference, however. With The Brutalist, not only was it used with the actor's consent, but to enhance some stuff, including the Hungarian dialogue and the blueprint in the final scene. And when I saw that in The Brutalist, it wasn't really that noticeable due to how well done it looked. And that was mainly because it was on a shoestring budget of nearly $10 million. And plus, human talent was still on the front seat. With the Electric State, though.
And at least it was done sparingly in The Brutalist, unlike something like Electric State or The Flash.
Exactly. I mean, when I heard, I'm not kidding, by the way, when I heard Bill Clinton talking in a film, I was like, this sounds like AI generated shit. And lo and behold, I was right. Because that's exactly what they used without his consent. Like, how incompetent and tone deaf do you have to be as a filmmaker to even do something as despicable as that?
At least when Forrest Gump altered the JFK scenes, it was done seamlessly.
Exactly. Yeah. Overall, The Electric State is not only the Russo brothers' worst movie to date, but it is also damn you phone. Okay, sorry about that. Let me rephrase what I just said. So overall, not only is The Electric State the Russo brothers' worst movie to date, but it is also one of the most incompetent, idiotic, and reprehensible films I've ever seen. And it also shows everything that is wrong with Netflix today. I have seen some bad movies this year, whether it's like Love Hurts, Captain America Brave New World, Snow White, or even fucking Mel Gibson's Flight Risk. But the fact that this movie makes those films look like Oscar contenders in comparison really shows on why The Electric State is the worst movie I've seen this year so far. Excuse me. And yeah, if you haven't guessed it, The Electric State is the second movie of 2025 to earn the prestigious rating of a 0 out of 10 or an F. Boo!
Kevin Feige, please save us next year.
Like, seriously. Even if you're curious about this one, do not watch The Electric State. It is not worth your time.
Like I said, just wait until Doomsday comes out.
Fuck this movie.
But in the meantime, let's get to Black Bag.
Seriously.
Yes! And this is hands down the better film this year from Steven Soderbergh and David Koepp. It kept me engaged throughout 90 minutes. The cinematography, editing, and writing are all stellar. And Michael Fassbender and Kate Blanchett are both standouts within a great cast. So it's one of the year's better films, which I'm giving the seal of cinema.
I absolutely love this film. To me, this is one of the best movies I've seen this year so far. And it was my favorite film of the year so far until I saw another film, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Not only do I consider Black Bat to be Steven Soderbergh's best movie in years, but it's also a stylish, seductive, and intriguing spy thriller about loyalty, relationships, and truth. It's basically a silent whodunit spy thriller, and a fantastic one at that. This movie is very special to me because we don't get that many spy thrillers like this anymore, where it's quiet while also trying to be stylish, seductive, and intriguing, and does well with its slow burn pace. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love seeing a good action-packed spy movie when and if it's done well. But sometimes it's always good to see one spy film that not only succeeds in being a quiet and slow burn spy thriller, but also trying to be stylish and intriguing as well. And with Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag, it succeeds so well in being that. The acting was absolutely terrific. Michael Fassbender gives out one of his finest performances in years. Gives out one of his finest performances yet. As does Kate Blanchett. And the chemistry between them was absolutely pitch perfect. On top of that, you also have Marissa Abela, Tom Burke, Naomi Harris, Ray Gay, John Page. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but yeah, he was fantastic. And Pierce Brosnan, although not in the film that much, are all excellent in the film as well. The story felt intriguing and well structured. Steven Soderbergh's directing was fantastic, especially with how he does a great job winding up the tension slowly up until the payoff in the final act that had my jaw dropped. I was also very impressed with David Koepp's screenplay, especially with it not only having excellent characterization, but also having such very well-written dialogue, and with the way it explored its main themes on loyalty, relationships, and truth. The score was brilliant. Excellent cinematography, especially with some of the backlit shots that felt stylish yet clever. Excellent editing. The pacing was great as well. Yes, the slow burn pacing will turn some off, but it works for me because of how it's slowly trying to build the tension up until the suspenseful payoff. And speaking of the tension, some of the tension-filled moments in the film felt so real and intriguing to the point where it had me on the edge of my seat throughout some sequences. And the payoff in the final act was fantastic. And when it came to the ending, it felt very satisfying as well. Overall, Black Bag is one of the most stylish, seductive, entertaining, and intriguing spy thrillers I've ever seen. And not only do I consider this to be Steven Soderbergh's best movie in years, but it is also one of the best movies I've seen this year so far. And with that, I am giving Black Bag the very first. And with that, let me rephrase what I just said. And with that, Black Bag is the very first movie of 2025 to earn this prestigious rating. 10 out of 10 or an A+. If you're a huge fan of Steven Soderbergh and you love spy thrillers, check it out. It's a great film, and it's one of the year's best films so far. Well done, Steven Soderbergh.
Next up, The Day the Earth Blew Up. And this has been hyped up on the internet as this comeback for Looney Tunes, and especially after it single-handedly saved Coyote vs. Acme from David Zaslav. And after seeing it, it's a cute movie. Nothing more. The voice acting's hilarious, and the animation's great, aside for some weird bits with the format at the beginning, and there are some legit funny moments. However, I found it to be just another Buddy Save the World movie with a ton of cliches. Also, there's some pacing issues and sometimes slow burst runtime, and there are some legit groaners like that influencer pic. Like, what the fuck was that? And the end twist makes no sense. However, it's still worth seeing among kids, adults, and Looney Tunes fans alike, with some giving the seal of accuracy.
To me, I really, really like this one. In fact, not only do I consider this to be my favorite Looney Tunes movie so far, but it's one of the better movies I've seen this year so far, too. This was a zany, hilarious, and highly entertaining 2D animated film that not only served its purpose, that not only serves as being a brilliant love letter to the Looney Tunes, but also a great story about friendship, while also being a hilarious homage to the classic sci-fi movies. And let me tell you, the 2D animation in this movie was incredible. It's breathtaking. Along with while there are a couple elements that were done in CGI animation, the 2D animation in the Day the Earth Blew Up are in these two words: breathtaking and beautiful. The story felt highly engaging. The writing was great, especially with it having such witty dialogue and great characterization. It's got excellent directing. The voice acting was fantastic. Eric Bauza absolutely nailed it as the voice of Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. Candy Milo was also excuse me. She was fantastic as the voice of Petunia, and Peter Peter McNichol was also one of the biggest show stealers as the voice of the Invader. And on top of its brilliant musical score and great editing, 88% of the jokes felt clever and witty, especially with some of the visual gags shown in the film that had me laughing so hard. And I have to disagree with you on the twist, Søren, because I found the twist to be pretty clever, mainly in terms of its execution. And on top of that, I also found the ending to be hilarious and satisfying. As for issues, there is some wonky pacing in some spots, and 12% of the jokes do admittedly fall flat, including that influencer joke. That influencer joke that felt like out of place, but oh well, what do I know? But overall, The Day the Earth Blew Up is a Looney Tunes movie. It's funny, charming, highly entertaining, and one of the better movies I've seen this year so far. 9 out of 10 or an A-. Thank you, Catch Up Entertainment, for saving this movie, and thank you once again for saving Coyote versus Acme. Seriously. I couldn't agree more, dude. I couldn't agree more.
Next up, Novocaine. And there's a neat premise about a guy who can't feel pain in an action scene, has a ton of potential, but it didn't fully live up to it. The main problem, the pacing. It takes 30 minutes to get going, and the third act had a pointless climax and especially plot twists involving the love interest. However, the middle part's a ton of fun thanks to Jack Quaid and the action sequences. So my recommendation, just skip the first part and stop the movie at around the 90-minute mark. Seal of accuracy.
For me, I really like this film. For me, I was surprised with how much I really liked this one. Novocaine was a surprisingly hilarious, entertaining, and charming action comedy film that was a lot of fun to watch thanks to Jack Quaid's brilliant performance as well as great action. The story felt engaging. I was also really impressed with Lars Jacobson's screenplay he wrote for the film, especially due to it not only having such well-written dialogue, but how it balances its action and comedic and romantic tones so well, too. The directing was brilliant. The acting was great. Jack Quaid was absolutely terrific as Nathan Kane. Amber Midthunder was also excellent as Nathan's love interest. And she and Quaid had such really good chemistry as well. Ray Nicholson, who is Jack Nicholson's son in real life, was also one of the best things about the film as the antagonist Simon Greenlee. What I really liked about his performance is that you could tell how much fun he's having on set. on the set while also playing a stone cold villain with a jokey attitude. It's got a great soundtrack, excellent cinematography, really good editing. The action sequences were a lot of fun to watch, and that's not only due to how easy they are to follow, but how it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and how real the tension felt, and how gnarly some of the hits and kills felt. Like, my God. When I say they are like gnarly, I really mean it. I really mean it. Like, there was some points in the film where there was some gory hits in the film, gory battles in the film that made me go, "Oh shit! oh shit!" 88% of the film's comedy felt witty and clever. There's a twist the film throws in towards the end that felt surprisingly quite clever and caught me off guard and in a good way. And it had a very satisfying ending as well. As for issues, there's a couple pacing issues in the first and third acts. 12% of the jokes did fall a bit flat, and it does. 12% of the comedy did fall a bit flat, and let's be honest, it does have its fair cliches in it as well, especially in its DNA story. Like, you have seen this done before in other films, but that's really it. Overall, Novocaine features an excellent and likable performance by Jack Quaid, and I found this movie to be entertaining, charming, and a lot of fun. It's joining one of them days as being in my most surprising films of 2025 list, and with that, I'm going to give Novocaine an 8 out of 10 or a B+. Check it out.
Next up, the Alto Knights. And Robert De Niro playing two different characters in a gangster movie, it's nothing more than a pointless gimmick. And despite Barry Levinson's best efforts with the production values and such, it's just a generic gangster movie, nothing more, nothing less. So, not awful, but not something I'd recommend or see again. Seal mediocrity.
Yeah, Yeah, I have to agree with you right there. Søren. I mean, with the Alto Knights, I was really looking forward to this one. I mean, you had Robert De Niro starring in a mob movie directed by Barry Levinson of Bugsy and written by Nicholas Pileggi of Goodfellas, who wrote Goodfellas and Casino with Martin Scorsese. This should be one of the best movies of this year so far, right? Wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that the Alto Knights is joining Wolfman as being one of the most disappointing films I've seen this year so far. The Alto Knights is one of those movies that have a lot of potential with its story, especially given it was based on true events. But unfortunately, due to its poor execution, not only was it wasted potential, but it's also one of the most boring, cliche, and underwhelming mob films I've ever seen. Now, to be fair, there are some good things in it. The acting was very good, especially with Robert De Niro being the biggest standout in a dull role as mob bosses Vito and Frank. It's got a good soundtrack, excellent cinematography, and brilliant production values and costume design. Unfortunately, that's where my positives end. The story was a muddled mess. I was also shocked with how underwhelming Nicholas Pileggi's screenplay felt, and that's mainly due to how cliche and bland the dialogue felt. Barry Levinson's directing was shockingly lackluster, and pacing issues, yep, there's definitely a lot of those throughout. It's also filled with cliches that you've seen many times in other mob movies before. And not only did the film have and not only was the ending very underwhelming, but some of the effects looked shockingly terrible. Especially with not only some noticeable green screen some shots, but with how you could clearly see Robert De Niro's fake nose glued on there too. But that's nothing compared to my biggest issue with the film, the editing. I am not kidding when I say that the Alto Knights is a candidate for having one of the worst editings I've seen in the film in 2025 so far. How this movie was edited not only made it feel like I was watching some type of documentary that came from the History Channel rather than a theatrical movie, but there was some spots throughout where the editing was so choppy with some of its excessive quick cut edits that it made me think that the movie was having a goddamn seizure. Like, good grief, that's how bad the editing is. Overall, the Alto Knights is one of the most underwhelmingly boring and cliched mob movies I've ever seen, and it's one of the most disappointing films I've seen in 2025 so far. Yeah, 3 out of 10 or a D plus. I do not recommend this one. Even if you're a fan of Robert De Niro, I just cannot recommend this one. And our next film is another disappointment. Given its premise and the studio behind it, and boy, did they drop the ball with this one. It's called Opus. Now, Opus is basically, okay, if you don't know what Opus is, here's the gist of it. Give me a second. Let me find it. Aha, here we go. Okay. If you don't know what Opus is, here's the gist of it. It's the new A24 film involving a young writer a journalist who was invited to the remote compound of a legendary pop star who mysteriously disappeared 30 years ago. Surrounded by the stars called of psychophants, she gets caught in the middle of his twisted plan. This movie really was not good at all. It has some good things in it, like Adiberry and John Malkovich were easily the biggest standouts of the whole film. The cinematography was fantastic. It also has great production values and costume design, and the sound design is excellent. Unfortunately, that's where my positives end. Because Opus was a mess. The story is basically nothing but a clone of other films with this type of trope, such as Midsommar, The Menu, and Blink Twice. Mark Anthony Green's directing was a mess, and his screenplay isn't even better either. Especially due to most of the characters, minus Io Adiberry and John Malkovich's characters feeling paper thin and one-dimensional, as well as some clunky dialogue, a tone that is so inconsistent where it can't decide if it wants to be a dark comedy or a thriller, and the themes involving celebrityhood, devotion, influence, and power dynamics sadly feeling undercooked. Like, I get Mark Anthony Green wanted to show on how people treat celebrities, especially pop stars, but I wish it was done in a better film. And it's really weird to me that, and I honestly find it very weird that A24 distributed Opus, considering the fact that they also distributed Midsommar. They also distributed like Midsommar, and that had a similar premise like Opus, except it's involving a pagan cult festival that turned violent, and that was by Ari Aster. I fucking hate jump scares. The rest of the acting, while not terrible, wasn't good, including Murray Bartlett, who I found to be absolutely insufferable as Stan Sullivan, Ariel's boss. And there were some points in the film where he was nothing but an idiot with some of the choices he made. The editing was all over the place at times. It also has a lot of pacing issues here and there as well. It's got a bland soundtrack. And not only did the movie have such a have such a bland soundtrack as well as a lackluster ending, but it's also filled with tropes that come across as cliched, especially since you've seen this type of trope done better in other films before, like Midsommar and The Menu. Yeah, overall, I really did not like this one. I really did not like this one at all. Opus features some great performances by Ayo Adebayo and John Malkovich, and it does have some interesting ideas with what it's trying to say involving how people treat celebrities, but the film is nothing more than a frustratingly inconsistent and convoluted mess. 3 out of 10 or a D+. You gotta do better than that, A24. You gotta do better than that.
Next, I'm going to
Unfortunately, the next film isn't even better either. Oh, Blumhouse, how you continue to disappoint me even more. Yeah, The Woman in the Yard. Yeah, it's The Woman in the Yard. I don't even need to say what the premise is about because, like, okay, it's involving. Okay, maybe I should like explain what it's about. So it stars Danielle Deadwyler from Till and I Saw the TV Glow, and she plays Ramona, who becomes crippled by grief after her husband dies in a car accident, leaving her to care for her two children alone in her rural farmhouse. Her sadness soon turns to fear, however, when a spectral woman in black appears in front of on her front lawn, warning her today's the day. As the mysterious figure creeps closer and closer to the house, Ramona realizes she must protect her children from the evil woman who simply won't leave them alone. And excuse me. Okay. So apparently, The Woman in the Yard wasn't screened for critics. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because of the fact that this movie is absolutely one of the most inconsistent films I've seen this year so far. And on top of the fact that it also has one of the worst endings I've ever seen in the film. Okay, so let's get to my positives. I'm going to get the positives out of the way first before I get to my negatives. The acting was good, especially with Danielle Deadwyler giving out a very good performance as Ramona, and it's got great cinematography as well. But that's where my positives end because, oh boy, was this a bad one. The story was an inconsistent mess. The screenplay was terrible, especially due to its bland dialogue. The characters feeling paper thin and one-dimensional. The themes involving grief and trauma feeling cliched and poorly executed. And it doesn't do much with exploring if what Ramona was seeing was real or in her head. And on top of lackluster directing, I was also very disappointed in Lauren Bau's score for the film, since it came out as being nothing more than a scrambled mess. Usually Lauren Bau made some really good musical scores, but not this one. The editing was all over the place. The pacing was a meandering mess. The tension, suspense, and scares all feel non-existent. It's also filled with so many cliches you've seen in countless other films before. And here's where I'm going to talk about my biggest criticism. And here's where I'm going to talk about my biggest criticism with the film. The ending. Remember when I said that Snow White 2025 had the worst ending of the year so far? Well, you're not going to believe this. The woman in the Yard's ending is even worse. And that's mainly how they went too far with its bleakness. Now, I'm going to have to spoil the ending for this because... Hey, dude, welcome to the podcast. Now, I gotta spoil this ending because it really pissed me off so much. So, spoiler warning. If you have not seen it, spoiler warning, but honestly, you really shouldn't see it. I'm going to spoil this ending. Here we go. So early on in the movie, we find out that Daniel Day-Lewis' character Ramona lost her husband in a car accident, which definitely sets up its themes involving grief and trauma, as I mentioned before. And there's this one symbolism they threw in the film where later on, where Ramona's daughter spells the letter R backwards, which is a symbolism for what I'm about to talk about later. And towards the end of the film, when Ramona shows, let me rephrase what I just said. And towards the end of the film, when the woman shows Ramona on the future of her children, she states that the children will have a bright future if she committed suicide. Let me repeat that again. When the woman shows Ramona on the future of her children, she states that the woman will have a bright future if she commits suicide. I can't make this up. I literally cannot make this up. They used suicide as a plot device for the sake of entertainment. Like, but it gets even worse. It gets even worse. Because just when I thought that the ending was going to redeem itself, as Ramona does not end up killing herself with the rifle, and she and her children go on with their lives after Ramona defeats the woman and their house gets electricity back, all of a sudden, the movie shows the painting of Ramona's face, and it has Ramona's name spelled backwards. With the R spelled backwards. So thanks a lot, filmmakers. Not only did you imply that what Ramona saw and experienced was not real, but you just made the ending worse by implementing that she did commit suicide. And you have the freaking nerve to put in this PSA message involving suicide in the middle of the end credits. Like, how tone deaf are you? Like, I am not kidding. They actually did this. Like, they actually did this. Hold on, let me... Like, look at this. Like, it says, if you or someone you know is in emotional distress or suicidal crisis, please remember you are not alone. There is always help available. Please reach out to local health groups or organizations. So thanks a lot. So that's what you did. You basically used suicide as not only a message, it's not only a poorly thought out message, but also used it for profit. And that is despicable. That is one of the worst things a human being could ever do. Can you see why I hate this ending more than Snow White's 2025's ending? Yeah, over. Like, you don't use suicide as a plot device for the sake of entertainment. If you want to throw in a message involving suicide in the movie, that's fine. But not only do you need to have a story, but handle this topic in a mature and realistic manner like a fucking adult. Yeah, overall, The Woman in the Yard has one of the worst endings I've ever seen in a motion picture, and it's also one of the most misguided, convoluted, and inconsistent movies I've seen this entire year so far. And this is without a doubt one of the worst movies I've seen this year so far. I mean, throughout the whole movie, it was a 3 out of 10. It was a 3 out of 10 or a D+. But because that ending left such a bad taste in my mouth, it's a 2 out of 10 or a D. I just... Like, okay, so I've had suicidal thoughts in my life. I've been suffering through depression, and I've had suicidal thoughts in my life. And the way this movie portrayed suicide in The Woman in the Yard literally pissed me off to no end. Like I felt sick to my stomach. I felt sick to my stomach after it was over. And I felt so angry.
I know I've said this numerous times about Dear Evan Hansen, but when my Making Fiends fan fiction handles depression better than this movie, you know there's a problem.
Like, seriously. Yeah. Fuck this movie. Fuck The Woman in the Yard. 2 out of 10 or a D. Moving on to the next review, please.
Next up, Magazine Dreams. And this was supposed to be released back in 2023, but this was delayed thanks to Jonathan Majors' controversy and the type of character he plays here. In this movie, Majors is commendable for playing a character desperate to be famous in bodybuilding, and the cinematography and music are also well done as well. However, the story is all over the place.
I gotta get water. I'll be right back.
All right. However, the story's all over the place and takes too long at times, but it's worth it just to see Jonathan Majors' performance, with some giving the seal of accuracy. Next up, Death of a Unicorn. And the premise involving getting caught in unicorn lore and exploring it are fun to explore. There are some gnarly kills throughout, and there are some solid performances from Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd. However, I felt the CG wasn't the greatest, and the pacing can be a bit much, especially in the first act. But when the action kicks in, it's a ton of fun. Among the most fun I've had this year, which I'm giving the seal of approval. Next up, the Penguin Lessons. The story about English teacher's unlikely friendship with this rescued penguin is compelling thanks to the writing and Steve Coogan's performance. I'll even say it's a better version of Mr. Popper's Penguins, but that's not really saying much. However, pacing issues and tone discrepancies, sometimes it felt like a poor man's I'm Still Here at times, which felt out of place in this feel-good movie. However, this is a contender for the feel-good film of the year, which I'm giving the seal of approval.
All right, so you talked about Death of a Unicorn, and I did not like Death of a Unicorn at all. The Penguin Lessons. I did not like Death of a Unicorn, but I really liked The Penguin Lessons. Okay, so Death of a Unicorn has some really good acting in it, especially from Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, as well as Tia Leone, Will Poulter, and Richard E. Grant, as well as Anthony Carrigan, who was easily the biggest standout in the whole film. Who was easily the biggest standout in the whole film. It's got a good musical score and great cinematography, and there are some pretty gnarly kills and there are some pretty decent kills in that too, and there are some funny moments in it. However, I did not like this movie. The story was a muddled mess. The screenplay was the screenplay was the screenplay was bad. Like, again, it's supposed to be a satire on rich people and others, but it just doesn't do all that much with it. The characters felt bland. It's poorly directed. It's not that well directed, if I'm going to be honest. The editing was a muddled mess. It's poorly paced throughout. Most of the jokes fell flat, and the CGI. My God, the CGI in this one is so bad. Like, I get it. It's on a low budget, like 15 million per se. So of course we're not going to expect like spectacular effects or anything. But could they have made the unicorns look more poorly done in CGI? Like, really? And here's another big problem I have with the film too. Like, it can't decide if it wants to. The way the tone, the jarring tonal shifts. Like, it's trying. Like, it can't even decide like if it wanted to be like a horror or a comedy. Like, it's fine to be both things, but it needs to be balanced well. And the ending felt so abrupt. And the ending felt so lackluster. Overall, Death of a Unicorn is well acted, and it has some funny moments, and it does have some pretty entertaining moments here and there. But I sadly found this film to be underwhelming and just pretty boring, to be honest. 4 out of 10 or C-. I really did not like this one. As for the Penguin lessons, I really like this film a lot. Steve Coogan is fantastic as Tom McKell. Jonathan Pryce is great too. All the other actors are brilliant. The Penguin was really cute. The story felt engaging. The writing was solid. The directing was great. The musical score was solid. It had great cinematography and solid editing. It's very funny. It balances its comedic and dramatic tones really well. And the ending felt pretty satisfying as well. As for issues I have with the film, it does have a couple pacing issues here. As for issues I have with the film, it does have a couple pacing issues in some spots, and there are admittedly some cliches and there are some cliches that the movie throws in that you've seen done in other films before, but that's it. I really like this movie overall. The Penguin Lessons features a brilliant performance by Steve Coogan, and I found this movie to be heartfelt, charming, and entertaining. And with that, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 or a B+.
Unfortunately, next one's The Working Man, and this reunites Dave Ayer and Jason Statham from last year's Beekeeper, but this feels like a poor man's version of it. It's nothing more than a generic retired badass saves his daughter from traffickers plot from Taken. And unlike Beekeeper, which is self-aware and silly, this takes itself way too seriously. First half especially left me twiddling my thumbs, so waiting for the action to take place. But the action is neat enough, especially the chair over the pool scene, but it's not really worth it. Still mediocrity.
I really did not like this one at all. I mean, yeah, as someone that enjoyed The Beekeeper last year, mainly because of how self-aware it was, I was really underwhelmed. I was so underwhelmed by this one. You might as well call A Working Man Taking clone number 425. Because that's exactly what it is. If you've seen Taken, then you already know what happens in A Working Man. Someone's daughter gets kidnapped by a bunch of human traffickers. It's up to the protagonist to go after the human traffickers. The protagonist eventually finds the human traffickers and beats them to death. and the protagonist rescues the daughter, end of film, roll credits. And it wouldn't have been that repetitive had they mixed up the formula a bit. But then I realized, oh yeah, Sylvester Stallone basically wanted to make another Taken movie. Now there are a few good things in it. The acting was solid, especially from Jason Statham, who was once again very good in the film. And David Harbour was really good too, although he's not in the film that much. The cinematography was very good, and there are some fun action sequences, especially in the third act. Sadly, that's where my positives end. The story felt repetitive and predictable. David Ayer's directing was a muddled mess, and the screenplay that he and Sylvester Stallone wrote for the film isn't any better either, mainly due to its bland dialogue and the characters feeling paper thin and forgettable. It had a bland musical score, the editing was all over the place, the pacing was a meandering mess. It's filled with cliches that you've seen countless times before in other action movies. Taken! And it has a very underwhelming ending. Overall, A Working Man is yet another generic, boring, and predictable action movie that's basically nothing more than another Taken clone. At this point, I'm getting very tired of action movies repeating the same type of formula again and again. 3 out of 10 or D+. I really did not like this one at all, and I do not recommend it.
Thankfully, the last 2 movies are masterpieces. First up, Warfare. And
Yes!
And Alex Garland's spiritual successor to Civil War surpasses it a lot. And this was actually co-written by one of the actual Iraq War veterans, Ray Mendoza.
Oh yeah, thank you for mentioning that, dude. That's exactly my main problem with a working man story premise as well. Anyway.
And Warfare was quite an experience thanks to the real performances and slowly its suspenseful pace. And it's got some stellar sound design too, which is one of the year's best films, Seal Cinema.
Yeah, I saw this movie. I wanted to see this movie because of the critical praise it was getting, and because it was Alex Garland. And boy, is this his best since Ex Machina. This was brilliant. This is one of the most intense and powerful war films I've ever seen. I mean, I've had a lot. I mean, after seeing this movie, it made me respect. It made me love and it made me look at veterans and love and respect them even more for what they've done to our country. There are so many things I absolutely loved about this movie. The story felt gripping and intriguing. The writing and directing were both fantastic. The acting was brilliant from everybody involved, especially from Joseph Quinn, Charles Melton, Will Poulter, and Michael Gandolfini, as well as Kit Connor. The cinematography was fantastic. It's brilliantly edited, very well paced. And when it came to the war sequences, whoa. Wow. Like, put it simply, the war sequences shown in the film are in these following words: intense, gripping, and powerful. Those are the perfect words to describe the war sequences. And it has some really gory yet brilliant practical effect. It has some really excellent practical gore effects. There are moments of real tension throughout, and the ending was very satisfying as well. Overall, Warfare is one of the most powerful. Now, the only reason why it's not a perfect 10 out of 10 for me is because I think to be honest, I can only watch this. Its rewatchability might be hard for me to watch this again, especially considering its content. But that's really the only reason it's not a 10 out of 10. I might rewatch it sometime, but it's going to be a really hard one to stomach, to stomach again. Even though I really loved it, don't get me wrong. Yeah, overall, I love this movie. Warfare is one of the most powerful and gripping war films I've ever seen, and it's definitely on my list for one of the best movies of this year so far. A very high 9.5 out of 10 or an 8 for this one. Check it out.
Next up, Sinners. And Vampires.
Yes! Yes!
And Vampires in New Western is already a neat concept, but Ryan Coogler amps it up to 11. The first half thoroughly establishes the characters, but the second half is all hell breaks loose, literally and figuratively. Fantastic production design and music, neat action and gory effects, and a surprising amount of social commentary on black people living in 1930s America. And it's got an outstanding cast from Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Mel Scatton, Jack O'Connell, and Michael B. Jordan. And it's easy to see why this is the first surprise hit of the year, so see this movie, see cinema.
Yeah, this is hands down the best movie I've seen this year so far. This was absolutely, and I am not kidding when I say this about Sinners. Not only do I consider Sinners to be Ryan Coogler's best movie to date so far, but this is also one of the most original, electrifying, captivating, and exhilarating films I've ever seen. And it really shows why Ryan Coogler is one of the best filmmakers around today. There are so many things I loved about Sinners. There are so many things I really loved about Sinners. From its highly engaging and gripping story to fantastic writing and directing by Ryan Coogler, especially the way he writes the character, especially with the way he makes the characters feel real and three-dimensional. Especially with the way he makes the characters feel real and fleshed out, the way it had such well-written dialogue, and the way he balances the period drama with vampire horror, as well as like saying a lot with its social commentary, and the way it explored its themes on racial violence and spiritual traditions as well. The soundtrack, the score, like, wow. This is one of the best scores I've heard in the movie this entire year so far. In fact, it's already a candidate for the best original score of the year so far. The acting was brilliant, especially from Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Miles Caton, Jack O'Connell, and Delroy Lindo. It's got fantastic cinematography. The cinematography was fantastic. The editing was brilliant. It's very well paced throughout. It has a couple of funny moments in it. Excuse me. The movie delivers some real tension and suspense throughout some sequences, especially when it came to some of the vampire elements shown in the film, and the practical effects, absolutely spectacular. And on top of that, it also has one of the best endings I've seen in the movie this entire year. Yeah, overall, I love this movie. I loved Sinners so much. It is Ryan Coogler's magnum opus, and it is absolutely one of the most original, captivating, electrifying, and exhilarating films I've ever seen. And it is so far the best movie I've seen in 2025 so far. And with that, Sinners gets my second 10 out of 10 or an A+, baby. Well done, Ryan Coogler. Well done, Ryan Coogler. Check it out, guys. Check it out. It's one of the year's best films.
Next, we're going to get to the pick and dog of the show. And as for my pick of the show, I'm going to talk about the Oscar-nominated thriller from 2006 entitled Notes on a Scandal. And the story about an elderly teacher who discovers an affair between a younger teacher and her student is a compelling one, thanks to Richard Ayer's direction and Patrick Marber's writing based on Zoe Heller's novel. But it's the performances that make this movie. Bill Nighy, Andrew Simpson, and especially the award-nominated performances from Cate Blanchett and Judi Dench. And it explores the thought-provoking question of, is it better to expose a scandalous relationship or keep a secret to maintain a friendship? And I will say this explores this concept a hell of a lot better than May December, and That's My Boy, so that's automatically a plus on the movie's part. So that's why Notes on a Scandal is my pick of the show. Now, as for the dog of the show, I'm going to go with one of the most misguided movies and biggest bombs of the late 70s, The Wiz. This movie takes the colorful and whimsical world of Oz from both a book, classic movie, and a play that was very loosely based on and turned it into this drab, colorless, and overlong mess. The musical numbers are numerous and forgettable as all hell. The sets, while showing their skill, are ruined by looking dark and gritty, which doesn't fit the story at all. Sidney Lumet, undoubtedly one of our great filmmakers of the 20th century, but he's mostly known for social dramas. This proves that he cannot do musical. And lastly, remember the Dear Evan Hansen movie where they made the 28-year-old Ben Platt play a teenager which backfired massively? Well, here comes the 1978 equivalent of that, 34-year-old Diane Ross as Dorothy. Enough said.
And it's so weird that like the Criterion Collection selected that film.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
In their collection.
The fact that Criterion is going to release this of all movies, not Killers of the Flower Moon, Mank, Trial of the Chicago 7, and other critically acclaimed masterpieces is an absolute crime against humanity. So that's why
I agree.
So that's why The Wiz is my dog of the show.
Yeah. All right. So this is where we usually end tonight's podcast with that, but since we're in the summer movie season, Søren and I are going to reveal our 10 most anticipated films that we're looking forward to seeing this summer. Now this list is going to comply from the films that came out last week, which is May 2nd, which was the weekend of May 2nd, all the way through the end of August. And like always, this is just our personal picks on what we feel on which films we're looking forward to seeing this summer. So if your movie that you're looking forward to seeing this summer isn't on this list, please don't freak out about it. This is just our personal picks, and we just want to keep it as civil and fun as possible. And don't forget too, you can type down. There is a comment section too down below where you can type in what your most anticipated films in the summer are. So, anyway, let's get this list started. Søren?
First, I'm going to go over the least anticipated. Number 5 is a tie between two movies with behind-the-scenes drama up the ass, Rust and Elio. Number 4 is a sequel that looks like Too Little Too Late, Happy Gilmore 2. Why are they even making this sequel? Number 3, Karate Kid Legends. Number 2, the How to Train Your Dragon live-action remake, which still looks unnecessary as all hell. And number 1, James Corden, Influencer Smurf. Enough said.
All right, so my 5 least anticipated films of the summer are number 5 and 4. I have mixed feelings on. Number 5 is the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie. Again, it does look beautiful. It does look interesting in some spots, but since it's a live action remake, I'm like, why? Why is this necessary? Oh, I know why. Because it's all about throwing the Benjamins in your face. That's what it's about. Number four. I do like how they got the original cast from the first film back, but again, it just looks unnecessary. Freakier Friday. Again, it's good to see Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis back reprising their roles, but this looks like a sequel that's just too little, too late.
Indeed.
Number 3. Why are they even making this? The first 2 movies weren't even that good, and the fact that they're doing a reboot of this, like, really? Oh yeah, a legacy sequel. I forgot. And the fact they're doing a legacy sequel of this, just like, really? It's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I have an experience about the previous 3 movies.
Number 2. I'm sorry, Søren, but I am not looking forward to this one at all. Jurassic World Rebirth. Look,
like I said, Gareth Edwards and David Koepp.
Look, even with Gareth Edwards directing and David Koepp writing the film, and Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali being in it, the fact that it's taking place after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, that's the reason why I am not looking forward to this at all. But my number one, you guys already know what it is. James Corden and influencer Smurf. It's the Smurfs. It is the Smurfs. Like insurance, like, comment. Oh, God damn it.
Shut up! Shut the fuck! You have no right to take me. Shut up! Will you shut up? Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Okay, so like and share and subscribe. My name is Influencer Smurf. Like and share and subscribe. Hold on. My name is Influencer Smurf. Like and share and subscribe.
How do you do, fellow kids?
You're welcome.
Now for my most. Number 10, the Naked Gun Legacy sequel. The trailer alone. The O.J. Simpson joke alone. Number 9, Thunderbolts Asterisk. Number 8, Friendship starring Paul Rudd.
Friendship is also on my list.
Number 7, Together with James Franco and Alison Brie.
That one made it very close to my list.
Number 6, a tie between Superman and the Fantastic Four First Steps. Number 5, Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing. Number 4, Celine Song's Materialists. Celine Song, please save Dakota Johnson's career after Man bullshit. Please.
Please.
Number 3, Mike Flanagan's The Life of Chuck. Number 2, Wes Anderson's Phoenician Scheme. And number 1, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning.
All right, here's my list. Number 10, Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing. Number 9, Friendship. Number 8, from the director of Talk to Me, Bring Her Back. Number 7, Mike Flanagan's The Life of Chuck. Number 6, 28 Years Later. Number 5, F1, from the director of Top Gun Maverick. Number 4, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Number 3, Materialist, directed by Celine Song. Number 2, I also have the same number 2, Søren, for Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. And number 1, my most anticipated film of the summer, James Gunn's Superman. All right. And that'll do it for tonight's podcast. Hope you guys had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun watching the podcast and being a part of it in the group chat. I sure as hell did. Be sure to subscribe to Søren Saunders on Søren the FilmBrony on his YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. Give him the love he deserves. Give him the love he deserves. He's a very talented and great person to talk to. And also check out his popcorn podcast too. The link will also be in the description below. I know I haven't yeah. Oh yeah, Taz. Oh yeah, Taz. Smurfs is going to be one of the best movies ever made. Not. Anyway, yeah, be sure to subscribe to Søren the FilmBrony on his YouTube channel. And don't forget to, the link is in the description below. Give him the love he deserves. He's a very talented and great person to talk to. And don't forget to check out the Popcorn podcast he's a part of too. So yeah. Until we meet again for episode 59 of the FilmBrony podcast in later on in the month. I'm gonna end the show. I'm gonna end my usual goodbyes like I usually do. Like I usually do. Thanks for visiting us on this podcast, and we will see you all again next time. So long for now.